Sophie was a quiet woman, living a simple life in a small coastal town. She worked as a librarian, spending her days among books, losing herself in stories of adventure and romance. But in her heart, she longed for something more. She watched tourists come and go, dreaming of a life beyond the pages, of a world where she could be the heroine of her own story. But she stayed where she was, bound by responsibility, comforted by the familiar. Then one day, everything changed. A stranger walked into the library, who was different from anyone she had ever met. His name was Athena Traveler, full of charm and stories from distant lands. He was looking for something, a rare book, he said, one that he heard might be found in this very library. Sophie was intrigued by his energy, his passion for life. She helped him search for the book, and in those moments as they talked, she felt something stir within her, longing she had never let herself feel before. They found the book, but their story didn't end there. Ethan invited Sophie for coffee, and they walked together along the seaside, the wind brushing past them as they shared their dreams. Ethan told her of the places he'd been, the adventures he'd lived, and Sophie listened, captivated. For the first time, she felt that maybe, just maybe, there was more to life than the quiet town she had always known. But Ethan wasn't staying. He was just passing through, and soon he'd be gone. A few days later, Sophie saw Ethan again, this time at an old bookshop at the edge of town. It was owned by a reclusive man named Old Man Walker, a mysterious figure everyone knew but no one really talked to. Ethan was after another book. This one, he said, held the key to an ancient treasure hidden in the cliffs beyond the town. Old Man Walker was hesitant to part with it. He warned Ethan that the treasure was tied to a tragic love story, a story of a sailor who never returned from sea, leaving his lover to wait forever by the cliffs. Despite the warning, Ethan took the book, and Sophie, unable to resist the pull of adventure and the chance to be with him, offered to help him decipher it. Together, they pored over its pages, learning the history of the town and the legend of the lost treasure. As they unraveled the mystery, they found themselves growing closer, their connection deepening with every passing day. But then, just as quickly as it began, things took a turn. Ethan received an offer to leave the town, to embark on a new adventure in a distant country. He wanted Sophie to come with him, but fear gripped her heart. She was terrified of leaving her home, of following him into the unknown, and so she pushed him away. She told him she couldn't go. Ethan, hurt and frustrated, accused her of being afraid to take a risk, while Sophie accused him of always running away from real feelings. They parted on bitter terms, and Sophie returned to her quiet life, but now it felt emptier than ever. Ethan was leaving, and with him, her chance at the adventure she had always dreamed of. A few days passed, and Sophie found herself drawn to Old Man Walker's shop once more. She needed advice, guidance, anything to make sense of the turmoil in her heart. Old Man Walker listened to her story, then told her the final piece of the sailor's tale. The sailor had never returned from sea, but before he left, he had written a letter to his lover, urging her to live fully, even if it meant living without him. In that moment, Sophie realized what she had to do. Love wasn't about holding someone back. It was about supporting them, even if their path led them away. She couldn't let Ethan leave without telling him how she truly felt. Racing to the docks, she found Ethan just as he was about to board the ship. Breathless, she stood before him and said the words she had been too afraid to say before. "I love you. I don't know where this will take us, but I don't want to lose you. Even if I'm not ready to leave, I need you in my life." Ethan, moved by her words, took her hands in his. "I'm willing to stay," he said, his voice soft. "If staying means being with you." And in that moment, standing by the water's edge, Sophie realized that sometimes the greatest adventure wasn't in distant lands or grand journeys. Sometimes it was in finding someone who made you feel like home. Together they walked back to the cliffs, where the legend of the lost sailor had begun. The wind whispered around them, carrying with it the echoes of a love long lost to time. But this time, there was no waiting. No tragedy, only the promise of a future they would face together.